Good morning from the New York Botanical Garden, and thank you for joining today's webinar. I am Benjamin Torkey, Associate Curator in the Institute of Systematic Botany, and it's my pleasure to welcome you for today's presentation, Systematic Studies in the Genus Rhynchosia with emphasis on the South American species. At any time during the webinar, please submit questions by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of the window, and we will gather these for our speaker to answer at the end of the presentation. Live captions can be enabled by clicking on the CC button, then Show Subtitles or View Full Transcript. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be available in the NYBG Lecture Library. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Luísa Maria de Paula Alves Bezerra, or simply Luísa Bezerra for short. Luísa is a doctoral student in the botany department at the State University of São Paulo, or Unesp, which is in Botucatu, Brazil. She's an expert in the systematics, that is the taxonomy, classification, evolution, and natural history of members of the legume family Fabaceae, particularly members of the tribe Phaseoli, subtribe Cajaninae, which, although it contains many ecologically important species, is best known for its agricultural species, such as the pigeon pea, Cajanus cajun. Within the subtribe, Luísa's doctoral studies and research at NYBG are focused particularly on the genus Rhynchosia, which has over 200 species distributed in both the New and Old World tropics and subtropics. Through a competitive application process, Luísa was selected to receive the 2020 Rupert Barnaby Award of the New York Botanical Garden for her research on Rhynchosia. The Rupert Barnaby Award is a small grant named in honor of the late legume systematist Rupert Barnaby and world-renowned plant taxonomist, one of the most productive plant taxonomists of the 20th century. The award is given annually, especially to students and early career professionals, to reimburse a portion of their travel expenses to visit NYBG and to conduct specimen-based research in the legume collection of the Steer Herbarium, which holds one of the largest and most comprehensive such collections anywhere. Luísa's doctoral research at Unesp is mentored by Dr. Ana Paula Fortuna Perez, who some of you may know and who has visited NYBG on a number of occasions. Luísa's educational background also includes a master's degree in botany from Unesp and a bachelor's degree in botany from the Federal University of Ouro Preto in Minas Gerais, Brazil. She arrived at NYBG for her visit on November 29th, and that was after a long delay. She'd originally planned to visit in 2020, but obviously due to the pandemic was not able to. And she'll be here for another week before she departs again for Brazil. So with that, I would like to thank Luísa, and I will turn it over to her.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much, Ben. I would like to thank everyone for being here and to give me this opportunity. And I will share my screen now. Can you see the screen?
Yes, but it's not in presentation mode again.
Sorry. What about now?
Very good.
Yes. Okay, so my name is Luísa Maria de Paula Alves Bezerra. I'm a doctoral student at Universidade Estadual Paulista, Unesp, from Brazil. I'm supervised by Professor Ana Paula Fortuna Perez. I would like to thank everyone for having me here, especially Dr. Benjamin Tork. And I will present my doctoral project, which are in progress, and I am developing with my advisor and collaborators. And this project is entitled Systematic Studies in the genus Rhynchosia, with emphasis on South American species. Leguminosae is the third largest family of angiosperms and comprises about 19,500 species and about 700 genera and 6 subfamilies. This family has a cosmopolitan distribution and comprises species of a wide morphological variation. Phylogenetic studies recognize leguminosae as monophyletic. A recent study carried out by the Legume Phylogeny Working Group established 6 subfamilies for leguminosae, which are Cercidoide, Detarioide, Duparquetioide, Dialioide, Cesalpinoide, and Papilionoide. The subfamily Papilionoide is the most representative subfamily of Leguminosae and comprises about 14,000 species and about 500 genera. This subfamily is characterized by having flowers usually bilaterally symmetrical and petals imbricating bud. The median petal, which is this large one, is also known as the standard banner or vexillum, and this petal overlapping the other 4. Papilionoide comprises 28 tribes and has a cosmopolitan distribution. The tribe Fazeli stand out to include the species of great economic importance, such as the beans, and comprises about 89 genera and about 1,500 species, and currently is circumscribed in 8 subtribes. The subtribe Cajaninae is the most representative subtribe of Fazeli and includes about 490 species and 10 genera. Recent studies carried out by Vargas and collaborators pointed out that the Cajaninae subtribe is characterized by present secretory structures throughout the plant body, such as bulbal-based trichomes and vesicular glands, this later being a unifying feature of the subtribe. Also, recent studies, ultrastructures and histochemical studies, also performed by Vargas and collaborators, stands that these secretory structures with their respective exudates act in defense against herbivory and ultraviolet radiation damage. The genus Rhynchosia is the most representative genus of Cajaninae subtribe and includes about 230 species with a pantropical distribution and 2 main centers of diversity. One of them in Africa with about 140 species, and the other in the Neotropics with about 55 species. This species occurs mainly in environments of Cerrado, Campo Rupestre, Caatinga, and Mata Atlântica. Loureiro, in 1790, used the name Rhynchosia for the first time and described Rhynchosia volubilis. The name Rhynchosia comes from the Greek word rhynchos, which means beak, due to the shape of the keel petal of the type species Rhynchosia volubilis. In 1899, Rhynchosia was recognized as synonymous of Dolicholos by Vail, and still this name has their misuse until 1959, when the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature of 1935 preserved the name Rhynchosia against Dolicholos. Regarding economic importance, some species of Rhynchosia can have pharmaceutical use. Species with bicolor seeds can be used by making handcrafts and for ornamentation. Some species are also used as food source both for man and livestock. And species with bicolor seeds, for example, Rhynchosia physioloides, has narcotic properties and were used by ancient Mexicans as hallucinogens. According to molecular and morphological data, Rhynchosia is closely allied to Eriosema, being these two genera the only of Cajaninae subtribe which occurs on the neotropical region. The recent phylogeny conducted by Candido and collaborators of the genus Eriosema were the most complete and comprehensive molecular study of Cajaninae species, and this study showed important results regarding the relationships between the representatives of Cajaninae and Rhynchosia. The genus Rhynchosia is characterized by having subshrub or climbing nabbit, stems erect, prostrate, or twining. The leaves can be uni or trifoliolate, and the inflorescence can be racemose, paniculate, corymbiform, or fasciculate. The corolla vary from shades of yellow, and the fruit is legume with 2 seeds. The first major taxonomic treatment of the genus was published by Greer in 1978. In this work, 51 species were recognized for the neotropical region, being 27 for South American. Greer recognized 2 sections for the neotropical region, section Copisma and section Arciphyllum. The section Copisma is characterized by climbing nabbit, trifoliolate leaves. The calyx lobes do not exceed the length of the corolla, as we can see in Rhynchosia minima and Rhynchosia physioloides, for example. And the species recognized in this section occurs in the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Oceania. The section Arciphyllum is characterized by subshrub with erect or prostrate branches. The leaves can be unifoliolate, as in Rhynchosia platyphila, or trifoliolate, as in Rhynchosia coryllifolia. The calyx lobes equal or exceed the length of the corolla, as in Rhynchosia lineata or in Rhynchosia schomburgki, for example. And the species recognized in these sections occurs in the Americas. Our taxonomic treatment of South American Rhynchosia species, so far, we recognized 20 species for South America, 27 species for South America. And this species occurs mainly, and this species has subshrub to climber habit, with growth forms that varies from prostrate, erect, or twinning. Vesicular glands are found in all species of Rhynchosia, and bulbal-based trichomes are also commonly found. But according to the position and organ that these glands are inserted in, they can represent a diagnostic character for circumscription of some taxa. And the hairs in Rhynchosia can be pilose, vilose, tomentose, pubescent to hirsute. The leaves in Rhynchosia can be petiolate, as in Rhynchosia renicula, or subsessile, as in Rhynchosia platyphila, can be unifoliolate or trifoliolate. The stipules are always free and can be persistent or deciduous. And the stipels can be present, as in Rhynchosia melanocarpa, or absent, as in Rhynchosia physioloides. And this character is also a diagnostic character for some species, for some South American species. The inflorescence can exceed the length of the leaf, as in Rhynchosia lineata, Coryllifolia, and Rhynchosia platyphila, or may not, as in Rhynchosia senna. And the inflorescence can be racemose, paniculate, corymbiform, or fasciculate. The flowers are always papilionaceous and the petals are yellow. The calyx has 5 lobes and can exceed the length of the corolla or not. The androecium is diadelphous and the ovary biovulated. The fruit is legume and can be inflated or compressed with constrictions between the seeds, as Rhynchosia phaseoloides or Rhynchosia melanocarpa, or without constrictions. There's 2 seeds per fruit, and the seeds can be bicolored, as in Rhynchosia phaseoloides. In Rhynchosia phaseoloides, the areas of coloration are almost equal, or in Rhynchosia melanocarpa with bicolored, black and red, but the red just around the hilum, or yellow and black, as in Rhynchosia levisi, and can have just one color. The hilum is linear, and the insertion of the funicle can be central, subcentral, or terminal. Here, there's 2 new species that we recently described. This one is Rhynchosia levisi. This species is from Bahia State, Brazil. And the other is Rhynchosia mineira from Minas Gerais State, Brazil. Our taxonomic treatment for South America species includes all information about type, species, and synonyms, and a complete morphological description of the species, followed by nomenclatural and taxonomic notes, reproductive and phenological states, information about distribution and habitat, and specimens examined. This work are in progress, but so far we are planning to propose 5 new synonymizations and 23 lectotypifications, being 16 second step. Our phylogenetic results, previous phylogenetic results, includes 220 accessions. So far, we used just the chloroplast markets, but the final results will also include ITS. And this work will represent the most complete molecular study of Cajaninae performed so far. So in our previous phylogenetic results, the subtribe Cajaninae and the genera Eriosema, Flemingia, Dumbaria, Adenodolicus, and Cajanus emerged as monophyletic. Our previous results revealed a clade predominantly with species recognized in the section Arciphyllum. This section was based on a generic name, Arciphyllum, and as I already mentioned, this section is characterized by having the calyx lobes that equal or exceed the length of the corolla. Some African species of Rhynchosia emerged as polyphyletic, and the genera Paracalix, Chrysocias, and Volusafra emerged nested with other African Rhynchosia. The genus Paracalix includes 6 species and occurs predominantly in Africa, also present climbing to subshrub habit and leaves pinnately trifoliolate. The flowers are organized in axillary racemes. The pods are compressed and have 1 to 2 seeds. And this genus differs from Rhynchosia by the calyx lobes, which are greatly expanded and papery after flower. The genus Bolosafra, Rhynchosia resembles the monospecific genus Bolosafra, since they both have similar growth habit and pinnately trifoliolate leaves with conspicuous veins, generally covered with glands beneath, and yellow flowers. Some authors mention Bolosafra as a viscid Rhynchosia-like vine, but this genus different from Rhynchosia by their preeminent seeds areoles, when in Rhynchosia the areoles are almost absent, and by the turgid 5 to 7 seeded fruits, and just 2 seeded fruits in Rhynchosia. The genus Chrysocias comprises 5 species. The status of the genus Chrysocias has remained ambiguous, since some authors recognized it as an independent genus or included it in Rhynchosia. However, recent molecular studies proved that Chrysocias is nested within Rhynchosia and corroborating our results. So Chrysocias was recognized as a section in Rhynchosia, called Rhynchosia section Chrysocias, and this section is characterized by the golden glands on the leaf surface and calyx, by the golden bulbal-based hairs that are present on the stems, leaflets, stipules, calyces, and sometimes on the pods, by the flowers solitary, subsolitary, or on axillary umbels, and by the peduncles longer than the pecíolos. Rhynchosia volubilis, which is an Asian species and type species of the genus, emerged together with Rhynchosia DLC, which also occurs in Asia, and a sister group of Dumbaria. Dumbaria comprise 20 species and also occurs predominantly in Asia, and is characterized by having climbing herbs or subshrubs, and occurs in dry tropical forest, thicket, and grasslands. In this way, the results obtained so far are previous, but it is already possible to conclude that the analysis support a polyphyletic Rhynchosia. In the analysis carried out so far, Rhynchosia volubilis, which is the type species of the genus, emerged as a separate clade from other species and nested with other Asian species, Rhynchosia DLC. So if these results persist, this clade could be recognized as Rhynchosia sensu stricto, and the other species will be recircumscribed, and the covalent clades formed could be ranked at the generic level, and names previously assigned to Rhynchosia sensu lato species could be reinstated. So I would like to thank the Brazilian institutions FAPESP and CNPq for funding this project, and CAPES by the doctoral grant. I would like to thank the Brazilian and foreign herbaria curators. I would like to thank the Rupert Barnaby Award for this opportunity, and especially Dr. Benjamin Tork, Douglas Daly, and other NYBG staff for their support, and all collaborators in taxonomic and phylogenetic studies, which are in progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luísa. Very much enjoyed your presentation. I'm sure it looks like we have plenty of time to entertain questions. So please, if there are any questions, please enter them in the Q&A. I've jotted down a few things that came up to me. So why don't we start with those? So one of the things that I was considering is that when you showed the molecular phylogeny, it looked like your group had sampled both nuclear and chloroplast genes. Did you have congruent results between those different markers?
Sorry, Ben.
Were the results when if you looked at just the nuclear genes, so the ITS, were those results congruent with analyses where you're just looking at the chloroplast genes? Did you find that Rhynchosia was polyphyletic across those different data sets?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Maybe a Brazilian can help to translate.
Well, why don't we, I'll ask a different question, see if I can think of a way to rephrase that. Could you talk a little bit about what's known about the pollination biology of Rhynchosia?
Well, I need to study more about the pollination of Rhynchosia, and I think I'm not able to give a lot of details of this. I'm sorry.
I mean, it seems like most of the species have flowers that look like they would be pollinated by bees, as
Yes,
is the case with most papilionoid legumes. Have you seen that in the field at all, or you haven't really noticed pollinators on plants?
yes,
when you've been in the
I
field?
observed the pollinations by bees and others insects like some coleopters, and but I need to, I don't have a lot of information about this, and I'm sorry for.
Okay, well, let me see if I can state in Portuguese the question that I was trying to ask previously about the phylogeny. So, o filogenia, o resultados de filogenia são igual entre os genes de ETS, por exemplo, e os outros genes de chloroplasto?
Yes, the results are of the both markers showed very similar results.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Let's see, it looks like some questions have come up in the chat. One of them is, why do you think this genus or these genera have so few seeds, usually only 2, putting many eggs in one basket compared to many other legumes?
Sorry, can you repeat?
The question is, why do they have only 2 seeds? It seems like a risky strategy to have only 2 seeds in a fruit is what the question is saying. Do you have any ideas about that?
Well, actually, I don't. Some genera of Cajaninae presents more than 2 seeds until 5 to 7, but it's commonly to found Eriosema and Rhynchosia, and Paracalix has just 2 seeds, and I'm actually I don't know, because only 2, because
Do you typically find that the plants have lots of fruits? I mean,
yes,
perhaps it's just a matter of they have few seeds in each fruit, but they produce a lot of fruit, individual
yes,
fruits.
maybe because they produce a lot of food, a lot of fruits, and there's just we have just 2 seeds per fruit, but it's commonly the plant produce a lot of fruit, so maybe could be a reason.
Do you think that the character of the 2 seeds was overemphasized in the taxonomy, and perhaps that it was used to define Rhynchosia. And perhaps that's why it turns out to be non-monophyletic, is that one character was given so much emphasis.
Yes, I think it could be a reason.
Okay, let me see if there are some other questions here in the Q&A. So here's a question. How are these fruits dispersed? How can you explain the distribution across the two continents?
Well, I believe that some fruits, especially the fruit, they have this elastic day sense, so this helps to disperse the seeds. And I think the distribution across the continent, one reason it's about some geological events that occurs in the past, and I think some fruits can flutter in the water, and this could be a reason of this distribution.
Okay. Another question is, if you recognize a small Rhynchosia sensu strictu, how many other genera would be recognized? And do some of them need new names? Or are there already names available for those genera?
Well, I don't know exactly how many genera will be recognized. As I already mentioned, this is our previous analysis, so we have to do other analysis until we know. But I believe maybe 3 to 4 genera. And this work involves a lot of collaborators, and we still have to discuss about the names, but maybe some names which was previous assigned to Rhynchosia can be reinstated, as maybe Dolicholos, I don't know. But this information we still have to discuss to decide this.
Okay, here's a question from Doug Daly. Did you have any difficulties in the classification of trichomes? What references did you use for describing or classifying them?
Well, I use the morphological, I don't know, maybe Danilo can help me, the morphological book of, I don't remember the name, I'm sorry. But I don't have difficult to classify the trichomes. Van der Leyen, she did a work with the secretory structures, and she did anatomy, and it's maybe there is a pattern in the trichomes. I'm sorry about the English.
No, it's good. It's fine. You're doing very well. Thinking about the secretory structures, you mentioned that they may function in protection from ultraviolet radiation. Do you think in Rhynchosia that they have some other function, or do you think it's primarily to protect against the sun radiation?
I think to help there to survive in dry environments too. I think it's maybe. a reason.
So Danilo just texted it. He said it was trichomes from Worker 2000. I guess he's referring to the reference that you
Yes,
used for
I'm sorry.
classifying the trichomes. Let's see, Larry asks if you could explain why you chose maximum likelihood for your phylogenetic analysis and instead of, for example, Bayesian analysis.
It was just a previous analysis, but we are running the Bayesian too.
I think I've gotten through most of the questions that are in the Q&A. I apologize if I've missed anyone. I was just thinking maybe to follow up with one last thing. You mentioned that some of the species are used in pasture as forage, and it just seems so strange because we know that that many of these Rhynchosia are very toxic as well.
Yes.
So can that also be a problem for cattle, for example, if they're eating Rhynchosia? And
yes, I read that some species of Rhynchosia, one of them is Rhynchosia diversifolia, is toxic for the cattle. But what I read is that the species which are defined as Rhynchosia dualis and Rhynchosia minima, they are not toxic and are used for to food the cattle.
okay, well, I appreciate your patience with my feeding these questions to you in a not very elegant manner. But you've done a great job of answering all the questions, and I very much enjoyed your presentation. It was very interesting, and of course, we are all so excited that you finally have been able to come to the New York Botanical Garden to do the studies that you proposed in 2020. So that's really a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much, Ben, for this opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Sorry about the English, but thank you so much.
So Luísa, if you'll just leave the last slide open, I'll make some closing remarks. I'd just like to say, if you missed any part of today's webinar or want to watch it again, a recording has been saved and it will be published in the NYBG lecture library. Please join us for future science webinars on Friday, January 28th. There will be a webinar titled Stories of Philippine Botany, Expanding the Notion of the Vernacular. That's by Kathleen Gutierrez. Those of you who have not already registered for this, please sign up to the link which will be provided in the chat in a few seconds. I think Larry Kelly is posting that. And until next time, please stay well, stay green, and take care. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks again, Luísa.
Thank you, Ben. Goodbye. Thank you, everyone.